up, Wheelwod? This is progression number 1. We're going to be shooting through video of many different movements that you see on the Wheelwod, but the very first video that we are going to do is the kettlebell deadlift. We'll show you a multiple of progressions to get to that point, because obviously some people are not able to do that, as I was not when I first started, be able to pick up anything from the ground to sit back up. I had to always be assisted in my movement back up, which eliminated either only down to one arm or none. So we want to be able to pick things up off the ground and sit back up with those with weights. So we use the kettlebell deadlift as one of those movements. We'll have a few different ways in this video to show you how you can progress from one movement to the next until you get to the kettlebell deadlift. If you're able to do that right off the hop, then some of the technique work that we show you when you're completing that motion may be helpful here as well. Alright, stay tuned. Coming up, kettlebell deadlift. Okay, so we're looking at deadlifts. So we're going to show the kettlebell deadlift progression. So the full movement to start off would be that kettlebell deadlift. So what we look at is getting the kettlebells to the side, engaging your shoulders so you're not rounded over like this to pull, but you want to be engaged. Lower back tight, so if you see it from the side, I'm not hunched over, I'm engaged in the back, right? So if I come across, same mechanics as you would if you're teaching someone an able-bodied person. You want head up, you want chest up, and then you fire with your back extensors to sit up. Control the back down, so it's not a pull up and then drop, because that drop is going to blow your lower back out. So what we want to see is control both ways, the same as you would ask an able-bodied athlete. Lock in, sit up, full extension, bring them back down. So that's the RX movement. We will show you some progressions to build the strength. Okay, so some of the progressions for this. If you're able to do this movement, if you're able to bring chest and sit back up, then this progression is the next piece of that, because this would be the first one to try to work to. Can you do this? If you can, if you're stuck down here, can you help by creating weight back? It's kind of like a kipping motion, so you would lean forward, I bring my arms back to pull myself back. If those if that is a possibility, then we want to look at a good morning style movement. So the same way you would see in a normal CrossFit box, you're going to keep that bar, cross your shoulders. Same thing, chest up, head up, come down, you stay engaged, we don't flop, you stay engaged, and then we come back to a seated position. So we're coming down, staying engaged, and then coming back to that seated position. If you are unable to get to the point of actually doing this motion, which is where I started, I used to fall and I was stuck. I would have to push off. Now I'm very capable of coming up and down with large amounts of weight. One way to start to build that is just your regular slam ball. Take the ball, you're going to raise it above your head and try and stay balanced, so don't be leaning way back on your backrest. You're trying to be engaged off that backrest, and then you're going to think about crunching with the front. This section here through your abs. If you don't have abs, you just want to think about tightening as much of your core as possible. And then bring the ball to your knees. Push off your knees, back up. And then eventually, we want to get to the point where you can skip the knee motion. So I'm not actually touching those knees. I'm using the momentum of the ball to help me sit back up. So I slam, and when I pull, I throw the ball into my chest, which helps me sit back up. It starts to fire some of those back extensors that you probably haven't used since you started. So if you're unable to do this motion, and you're getting pretty good at the slam ball, allowing yourself to pull up, push yourself back, an option is to take a band, get it around your rack, or something that's going to be sturdy that if you're pulling on, it's not going to come off. And then you can do the same motion. We're going to do our best to go down on our own control without falling, so we don't want to just collapse. We want to go down as under control as much as possible, using this as little as you need to. Then when you get to that point, engage and use the band to help come back up. So it's just becoming down and up. And this piece, you can, the same as you would for someone who's using it for a pull-up or anything else, it become a less tension. So we can go to a smaller band. You'll start off big, and you may need to use it more, come down, so you might need to choke up so you can control that down, and then help you back up. The minute you get to the point where you can control most of this motion without having to use the band is the next spot to drop down to another band. Something that's going to be lighter. In our case, we carry the green, purple, black, and red, so I would move down to the black band after this, and then hopefully to a red, and then eventually to this movement here. So controlling that trunk is going to allow you to do a ton of the movements we're going to do through this progression series. So we can build that by eliminating the people who are wearing stomach straps now, the straps that go right around. I used to wear those as well. I spent my entire basketball career wearing one. That's the first thing that goes out. We eliminate that band and we start to try to develop this core. Okay, so we've got to the point where we're able to come up and down. We may not be able to move those kettlebells in the deadlift. What my progression next was, I started off with a 2.5. Seems like, oh, what's the big deal? With that 2.5, I would hold tight to my chest, up high, not down here because it's not really affecting my weight. It's got to be in the part that I'm trying to move, so I hold it up here and go to this motion. After I could do this, subbing this movement for squats was most of the time is what I did. So if there was air squats in a movement, I did these. So in a workout, if I could do 30 of these without having to stop, or only stopping once, I knew the next time I did that workout, or something similar to it, I was going to move up. So I moved to a 5. Same principles. Once I got to the point where I could work efficient with a 5, I moved to a 10. Or 7.5, depending on how you move along. 10. I've got myself up to now, I can hold a 45-pound plate to the chest and do that same motion, but it's not head driven. A lot of people will see this and then try to throw their head back. The head has to stay in line just as you would want to move, so you want to stay in line, forward, back. And you've got to start to think about firing here. And if you can't feel these muscles, then tighten here because they're still attached. So fire, back, down, back. And then you can try to push with your stomach as well. If you try to stick your belly button in this position, if I try to drive my belly button, which isn't the easiest thing because I can't function those muscles, but if I'm thinking drive my belly button into my spine and pull back, I can move myself back into that position. So these are great progression. They're fantastic for a workout. If you do a high rep, say you could get into a game of, or sorry, not a game, but a workout like Murph. Sub these back extensions for your air squats and see how it goes.
And then I'll take the punks out, feeling